Yeah, I guess.
Good evening. Would you stand with me for the invocation and pledge allegiance? Jeremy, if you would go to the podium, please. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, I thank you for allowing us this privilege of serving in Vienna. I pray, Father, that as this body gathers together and we discuss our agenda and craft policies for this city, we will always put the people's interest above our own. Remind us, Father, that we are in this position not to be served, but to serve the public, just as Christ, who is King, came not to be served, but to serve, and ultimately die on the cross to save us. I also pray, Father, that those of us gathered here will uphold what is moral and rational. In Jesus' name we give thanks. Amen.
Amen. Councilman Azinger, please.
Will the audience please join in the pledge? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to call to order this regular session of the Vienna City Council for September the 14th, 2023. Let the record reflect that I've taken roll and all members of council are present this evening. Having a quorum, we will proceed. First item on our agenda this evening is our public forum. Mr. Skogstad, would you read the ordinance as it was written, sir?
Well, the general part, just as a friendly reminder, we passed an ordinance in 2021 setting up the City of Vienna public comment rules, and I would just ask to recall that statements are to be directed to the governing body as a whole and not to individual members. Public comment does not require any member of the governing body to provide any answer to the speaker. So, thank you.
All right. So we have 4 people that have signed up this evening, and we will start with Ethel Harris.
Okay, I understand you're going, I'm Ethel Harris, 3400 River Road, and I understand you're going to be speaking about the pool tonight, so I would like to make a comment. The first vote that you had on it, it was 3-3, and I understand, no disrespect for you, Roger, but I understand Roger was in the hospital at that time and did not vote. Okay, but on the second vote, he had just gotten out of the hospital a day or 2 before, was not able to make it to vote. He did it by phone. So I'm contesting his vote, not that you're going to do anything about it because you're going to let it go over your head, and that's fine. But I want you to know we're not all idiots. Did he read what you guys, Jim, Melissa, and you, Randy, write up for him to read to get that 4th vote in to break the tie? So I would like it in the minutes that I am contesting that vote, that I don't think that he was probably competent enough to vote. Now, Randy, don't laugh. I know you want to.
Mrs. Harris, I'm going to caution you about refraining from identifying anyone. If you want to address council, you may, but you will not call us by name, all right?
Oh, is that right? Okay. Well, that's not going to bother me because most everyone knows who you are anyway. So now, on with that. And he's missed a lot of meetings. Does he get paid when he's not here? That's a question, and I don't think you're probably answering. If you do, that's fine. But I know he's missed a lot of meetings, and I know you're sick, Roger, and that's, like I said, no disrespect for you. So, and he's called in. He's missed about 4 to 5 meetings out of 9 times. That's another reason I have a reason to contest it. And he's called in maybe 2, 3 times. Now, the second thing is, I want to show you. We talk about beautiful Vienna. Randy, we need to do something.
That's your second warning. I will ask the officer to escort you out.
Why?
Mr. Skogstad, explain the rules to you.
Why is it?
Mr. Skogstad explained the ordinance to you, okay? Do you need a refresher?
Yeah, I need you to explain it to me. If you're going to escort me out.
Before we get into anything, before we get into anything that turns into a First Amendment violation, let's just,
I didn't hear you.
I said, before we get into anything that turns into a First Amendment violation, let's just finish what we're saying and go from there.
Well, I want to show you, because we're missing out on some B&O taxes. First off, it's down there where Elkey's is. We have 3 code enforcers. Have you looked at the grass that's growing out almost to Grand Central and the trees that's growing up on the building? And it looks like 7th Street used to look back in the 70s. It really needs cleaned up. And then there it is, the tree. I'll show the one with the grass. It's another one there, isn't there? Yeah, this is the one with the tall grass. It looks terrible. Okay, now, the next one is a house at 3709 Grand Central. It's been vacant probably 3 or 4 years. It really needs some TLC or tore down. Do we have the house law still in order to do that? Matter of fact, you cannot even see the stop sign because it's covered over with the bushes and trees there. Now, here's in the roof. It's got to be leaking inside, so it needs to have some attention. So I'm just requesting that maybe the code enforcers could look after some things like that. And then the hardware store. It's not a pretty sight. Why don't you get something done for that? We're missing out on B&O taxes because there's nothing there. And Weigel, there where Elkey's is, has 2 buildings there that's not even rented out, and it's never been rented out, I don't think, since he bought it. Using it for a write-off, I would assume. So therefore, I think we need to get the code enforcer to do something about this and help get Vienna cleaned up. Because it's not very pretty right like this. And people go through town and they look at that and they think they're in the slums. So, that's it. Now, did you want to read something to me, Russ?
No, ma'am, I think we've covered it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Tammy Rhodes.
Good evening. I had emailed Melissa when I read the minutes because what I had talked about in the special meeting a few weeks ago was not accurate. And I was told that, they can't be amended after they're approved. And I appreciate her response. So I want to say a couple of those things that I said in that meeting so that they go on the minutes of this meeting. So the first is that in the bid packet for the pool, under general and specific competitive bid requirements and information for bidders, it talks several times about the money for the pool being encumbered before the contract can be awarded. And that was not done. We passed resolutions, but resolutions are not legally binding. So, I feel like the city should encumber that money, and that should be done in council. The second thing is that you have passed a resolution on January 26th that said that all resolutions and ordinances must have 2 sponsors, and that's not happening, only for some people. So this is the resolution from the August 17th. There's 3 resolutions on it, and none have any sponsors. On the one tonight, there is well, it's not this one, but it's another one, where it was also the same way. The other thing I want to say is that I'm real unhappy about what's going on at Spencer's Landing. There's a carport over the picnic area. It does not look good. And there are 2 swings, and we don't have a plan for Spencer's Landing. You know, I know that people have asked, and that council members have asked, that we have a full plan, and that we have an engineering firm come in, or an architect or whatever, and design that. We don't have a plan. I don't want to see anything else go on in Spencer's Landing until we have a full plan, so we know where things should go. You know, we've got the Gold Star Memorial, which was placed before a plan. We have the Story Walk that was placed before a plan. And now we've got 2 swings that are there, and we have no plan for Spencer's Landing. So what do? Do we design around everything that's going in? And who's making those decisions? That should not be the decision of 1 or 2 people. That's my opinion. Earlier, many months ago, there was a resolution or an ordinance or whatever to place Spencer's Landing in the park system. That was voted down. I don't know why. It was supposed to be because of mowing, and I think that's kind of like a not real good excuse, because I'm sure that the Parks Department mowers know how to mow a piece of property. The other thing is that there was a resolution for a moratorium on any further work on Spencer's Landing. And I would hope that someone, hopefully, will bring that up tonight, because I know that council members are here that did before. So I would appreciate it if we start the way any project should be done, which is a full plan and evaluation, including the public input. Thank you.
Kathy Stoltz.
Kathy Stoltz, 25 Linwood Drive. I have no complaints, and I only need a minute. The last council meeting, when you voted a nice raise for our police officers, I have heard no complaints at all about that. Everybody seems quite happy. And we didn't have a date at that time for our next test. And I wanted to let you know we are giving an entry-level test on Tuesday evening, the 26th. And so far, we have 13 applications, which once upon a time would have been disappointing. But at this point, the last test, we had 4, and the one before that, we had 10. So we have almost as many as we had on the last 2 tests combined. So I thank you for looking after our officers and hope that we get a few more. The deadline is next Sunday at midnight, and maybe we'll get a few more of the procrastinators. Thank you.
Jeremy Daniels.
Reverend Jeremy Daniels of Wayside United Methodist Church, as well as Sand Hill United Methodist Church in Boaz. I want to thank you all for the opportunity to be here. I've only been here for a year and a half, or a little over a year, but Wayside is celebrating their 100th year this year. We are excited to offer some things going on in the city and a way to say thank you to the city of Vienna. If you've driven by Grand Central, we have a sign out there thanking the city. We've also have a concert coming up, on a free concert for the community this Saturday at 6 o'clock with the band Render the Hearts coming to town. And also next weekend, we are going to be out in the city, in the community, working on some projects to be out there thanking folks and helping folks in our community. And we just want to say thank you for allowing us to be a part of that. And if it's okay, I brought one T-shirt that celebrates our 100th anniversary to present to you, Mayor, if that's okay.
Sure.
Anniversary on the front.
Teresa? Would you bring your phone, please? Oh, right. Yeah. Rodney, get the phone. You wanna go there? Congratulations, 100 years is phenomenal. And you've been an integral part of Vienna for as long as I've been here, which is 1967. And Wayside is one of the cornerstones, and so thank you for continuing the traditions.
Thank you, it's an honor.
The minutes from the regular council meeting on August the 24th, 2023 have been printed, posted, and circulated. Are there any corrections to the minutes? If there are no objections, then the minutes will be approved as posted. Report of the treasurer, Councilman Leach.
Reconciliation funds for City of Vienna dated September 11, 2023 have been provided. I've reviewed the accounts. They appear in order and the city is financially sound.
Thank you. So we have no unfinished business this evening, so we'll go right into our regular agenda. First item on our agenda this evening is a proclamation for Constitution Week, and I will read that. Whereas September the 17th, 2023 marks the 236th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. And whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and to the patriotic celebration which will commemorate the occasion. And whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States designating September the 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week. Now, therefore, I, Randall C. Rapp, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Vienna in the state of West Virginia, do hereby proclaim the week of September the 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week, and ask all our citizens to reaffirm the ideals of the framers of the Constitution had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties, remembering that lost rights may never be regained. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Vienna to be affixed this 14th day of September of the year of our Lord, 2023. The next item on our agenda this evening is a resolution approving the consolidated annual performance and evaluation report for the city's Community Development Block Grant Program for the period 7/1/2022 to 6/30/2023. Tony, if you would, please.
The report that you have in front of you is just an annual report which explains what has happened in the past year with regards to the Community Development Block Grant Funds. During this time period, we had as a goal to rehab 10 units, and I'm pleased to say we actually did 13. So there were 13 homes that were either received a new roof, a new HVAC system, gutters and downspouts, or windows. During that time period, we spent a total of $123,198. And of those 13 households, 5 were considered very low income and 8 were considered low income. So in all likelihood, without this program, those houses would not have been rehabbed. So it's a good program, and that's just a summary of what we did during the past year.
Okay.
Any questions?
All right, so no questions, and I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the resolution approving the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, commonly referred to as the CAPER, for the city's Community Development Block Grant Program for the period 7/1/2022 through June 30th, 2023.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the resolution approving the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Tony, thank you. Next item on our agenda this evening is the bid approval for the Pollinator Garden. Councilman Leach.
Sealed bids for the construction of the plaza at the 28th Street Culinary Garden were opened on Thursday, August 31st, 2023 at 10 a.m. with the following results. Scott's Landscaping being the only bidder at $21,447. After careful review, bid proposals is the recommendation council for approval from the Budget and Finance Committee for the construction of a plaza at the 28th Street Culinary Garden to be awarded to Scott's Landscaping. Amount of $21,447. Funding from this project is from the city's general fund account 67068.
I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the bid from Scott's Landscaping in the amount of $21,447. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the bid. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the bid from Scott's Landscaping for the Pollinator Garden in the amount of $21,447, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Next item on our agenda this evening is a budget revision, general fund budget revision number 2. Councilman Leach.
Budget revision number 2 is in the Building Inspection Department, account number 43603, description salaries. This classification change for administrative assistant from C3 to C4. Current budget is $133,481, increase of $785. Bringing the budget total to $134,266.
I'll entertain a motion for the approval of general fund budget revision number 2.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve general fund budget revision number 2. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Next item this evening is a resolution to become a participating employer of the West Virginia Municipal Police Officers and Firefighters Retirement System for municipal police officers. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
I'd like to read the resolution as it is written because this is state language. Actually, I have Mr. Skogstad read it. And then we'll discuss it if there is any.
All right. And I'll read it with the some of the blanks filled in. This is a resolution to become a participating employer of the West Virginia Municipal Police Officers and Firefighters Retirement System for municipal police officers. The following resolution was duly made and lawfully passed by the majority of the vote of the governing city council of the city of Vienna, West Virginia, on the 14th day of September 2023. Be it resolved that the city of Vienna, West Virginia, does hereby elect to join the Municipal Police Officers and Firefighter Retirement System pursuant to Chapter 8, Article 22A, Section 28 of the West Virginia Code, and thereby will include all its municipal police officers who are eligible for membership in the Municipal Police Officers and Firefighters Retirement System. This municipality hereby agrees to pay its employer contributions and withhold applicable employee contributions monthly and remit the same to the Municipal Police Officers and Firefighters Retirement System no later than 15 days following the end of each calendar month. This municipality understands that if contributions are delinquent, the employer will be required to pay the actuarial rate of interest lost on the total employee and employer contributions per day with a minimum charge of $50. This municipality further understands that once it becomes a participating employer of the Municipal Police Officers and Firefighters Retirement System, the municipality may not withdraw from participation in the retirement system without express statutory authority. This resolution shall become effective on the first day of the month following receipt of this resolution with all of the required documentation and following acceptance of this resolution by the Consolidated Public Retirement Board. It is the duty of the mayor of each municipality to become a participating public employer in the municipal police officers and firefighters retirement system, to certify this resolution to the West Virginia Consolidated Public Retirement Board within 10 days following the vote of its city council.
All right. Is there any further discussion on the resolution to become a participating employer of the West Virginia Municipal Police Officers and Firefighters Retirement System? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the resolution, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. The last item on our agenda this evening, the next to last item on our agenda this evening is a resolution increasing the incentive compensation plan for the Vienna Volunteer Fire Department from $1,800 to $3,000 per year per firefighter. Be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Vienna that it hereby increases the incentive compensation plan for the Vienna Volunteer Fire Department that the city may contribute upon request of the Vienna Volunteer Fire Department from $1,800 for each qualifying Vienna Volunteer firefighter to $3,000, subject to all of the rules and requirements and any changes thereto as are contained in the incentive compensation plan for the Vienna Volunteer Fire Department. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the resolution, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. The last item on our agenda this evening is an update on the Jackson Pool. As you all have noticed, if you've driven up through Jackson Park Drive, all of the deck is gone, the pump house is gone, all of the concession area, everything is gone. They are now down to the part of the pool house that will be remediated, and they are working now to go through every piece of piping that is underground to make sure that if repairs or replacements are needed, that they're being done now before we replace the deck. Things are moving right on schedule. We've had several meetings with the contractor and the engineering firm, and so as of today, there really are no issues or big surprises that have come up. So we're very pleased with that. And Melissa, if you'd care to add in on anything you would like to highlight.
Yeah, there was one of the big items that was kind of an unknown, and it had been addressed in a few different ways in all of our discussion up to our votes, was the main drain, and that was one of the discussion items we had at the meeting, and it was jetted out to get it cleaned. They were able to do the camera, didn't see any issues, and it was able to hold the pressure test. So that is really good news that the main drain is good and in great shape. So there are no concerns there.
You know, the main drain is a major concern because the rules changed several years ago in regard to drains because of the suction. And so there are some specific safety features that have to be built into your drainage system, which we had. Unfortunately, the drains only had a 5-year warranty on the hardware itself. And so we're way past that. And so we're going to have to replace those screenings and drain apparatus in the sumps. But the piping and everything appears to be good. So we'll overcome that little increase and we'll move on with that. The second thing that I would like to talk about this evening in regard to the pool is it's my anticipation that we will be open next pool season. And so in regard to that, I would like to ask Melissa to head up a team to figure out a management team of what we're going to do. In the last few years, we have put that pool management out to an independent company. This past year, we actually had 2 companies that were interested, And so we always have the option to run the pool ourselves, which means we would hire lifeguards and we would have people there to take care of it. The other option is we could lease it out to one of the management companies and they would run our pool for us. So I would like you, if you were willing to take on that task, to find a way so that we have a management system in place when we get ready to reopen the pool.
I'll do that.
Okay? Any questions on the pool?
I have a question, but not particularly about the pool structure itself, but I don't know. When are we going to encumber any money with this? I mean, we haven't encumbered $1, and there are crews up there working. So I guess I'm really confused about that because I don't know that to be the process. If we, for example, I mean, we buy a truck, we're not, Public Works doesn't drive it around for a month and then figure out how they're going to pay for it. So
When we voted for the ordinance to accept the pool, the language that was in it, we have already assigned it. If we don't borrow a dime, we will pay for that pool. That's the only reason how we could enter into the contract to begin this project. All right? We spoke with bond counsel yesterday. They're going to have the paperwork cut to us tomorrow so that we can go out to bid for the financing part of the bonds. We're going to offer it to any institution that wants to bid on the bonds, and then council will decide how much bonding that council wants. The rest of it will come out of our capital reserve, and that way we will be ahead. And the reimbursement resolution that we put in allows us to reimburse ourselves for any expenses prior to that. So we're good on the expenses. We're good on the costs so far in the construction. It's simply when we get the bond in place, then we will adjust those numbers depending on what number council decides to finance.
right. I mean, I understand that. I mean, I remember all that. I'm just saying it's not really encumbered. It's not, you can't say it's encumbered to this line item, et cetera. And, we haven't even, to me, the bond's kind of like when you go to the bank and you get financing and we agree on what that's going to be. So it just seems like, that should be worked out before we start, what's going to be over a $7 million project. So that's my point about it. I'm not real comfortable with it. I think that we do a bad job of, having a plan and a budget. Those things go together for me, and, it gets talked about in other ways, whether it's Spencer's Landing and now the pool. So that's just something, I don't feel comfortable with that. But I will look forward to, what you receive back from the bond council so that we can go ahead and nail this down so we know exactly what we're doing.
The schedule is to have this item on the agenda for the next 3 council meetings to get through the process.
Okay.
So at every council meeting, there will be something that we have to do in order to satisfy the bond commission or the bond council itself. And so that will all be taken care of in the next 3 council meetings.
Okay.
All right?
I have a response to that too. I mean, we've got the competing interests of getting this construction process underway. As we heard UCCI say, there's not a day to waste. I'm comfortable that the procedures that the city has followed, notwithstanding Kim's complaints, are in accordance with our ordinances and procedures. And, and I think that we are proceeding appropriately, especially given the competing interests of getting this project underway.
All right. There's no further discussion. And we will close council meeting this evening. I have a couple of comments that I would like to make. I received a letter this week from one of our citizens, and I think this speaks so highly of the city employees that we have. And this letter, it singles out one of our employees, but honestly, this is reflective of almost every person that works for the city of Vienna. It says, I am writing to compliment you on one of your city employees, Joe Runyon. Joe's our sewer operator, but Joe does a lot of other jobs for the city other than being strictly the sewer operator. This gentleman found my company credit card while he was working and contacted my store and told the manager he had found it and he would bring it in when he got off work, which he did. He had no idea the card had been stolen from my purse by two girls just 2 weeks before. He was just being a good citizen trying to do a good deed. I was able to give the card to the investigating officers on this case, being hopeful that they might still be able to lift the girls' fingerprints. In this crazy world, when we only seem to hear the bad things about people, here was a situation where Mr. Runyon was just trying to be a good citizen. I wanted you and your city director to know about this honest employee you have working for you. And it's signed by a very appreciative Vienna citizen. And it's interesting because this isn't the first time that this has happened. A couple of years back, we had another one of our public works operators that found a bank deposit bag laying, which was full of cash. I mean, he had a bunch. And, you know, being the honest guy that he was, he brought it back, turned it in. You know, the people that had lost it were thrilled to death. And I think that the employees that work for the city are just good, honest people. And I can tell you that I appreciate Joe, and I appreciate the other men that brought the other bag back. And it's just, I'm grateful to be able to work around people that are honest like that. So for that, I just wanted to recognize Joe this evening for that nice letter that he received. I've already spoken to him. As expected, he acted like it was no big deal, just like he was doing his job. And so, you know, this lady was very grateful. And so I'm happy to have guys like Joe work for the city of Vienna. The second thing that I'd like to address this evening is a couple of comments that were made during the public forum. You know, it's very difficult when you're a small city and you have a small council. You know, things get in the way, people get sick. We've been very fortunate over the years that we've had a good, solid council, but there have been occasions where people have missed council meetings. That's no reflection on them or their dedication, but it just happens. And so, you know, the comments that were made about someone missing so many meetings and what have you, that's not true. As far as his dedication to the city, he's given more than half of his life to the city of Vienna, and I can certainly say that he has always been there when we needed him. And so, comments were made about the vote and all of that other stuff, and Mr. Skogstad will vouch that we did contact the Ethics Commission before we did that to make sure that there were no issues with that. And Mr. Skogstad, you were on that phone call, and there was no issues with that, were there?
No, that's correct. We, despite what some people think, I guess, we do our best, at least I do my best. We do our best to try to comply with the rules that we're given. I don't know what else you can do.
All right, so we'll leave it at that. All right. So the last comment that I want to make is about some questions or interest that was expressed about Spencer's Landing. So you all know that we've demolished the swimming pool and we've taken the fence down and we've removed all the equipment from there. And so there was a really nice canopy that was over top of the concession stand. And so rather than take that thing apart and stick it away somewhere where we would forget about it or it would get damaged, they re-erected it and they set it down on the concrete pad where the old shelter used to be, because that is used every day. And because there is very limited shade down there, there are now multiple picnic tables. There is a nice 20 by 24 shelter that was re-erected down there that we paid for it 10, 15 years ago. So there's no cost involved. If and when the master plan is ever put in play, it can be removed within, I don't know, 2 hours. 6 bolts on the floor and unscrew the metal panels. It'll come right apart. It's like an erector set. As far as the swings go, if you've ever been down to Point Park in Parkersburg, there is absolutely a fantastic view of the river from Point Park, and they have swings all up and down that area. And so we had an opportunity to acquire some swings, and so now there are 3 swings down there. As soon as the concrete dries, the swings will be installed, and the residents of our community will be able to go down there and enjoy the view, watch the barges go up and down. But it is exactly the same as the shelter. If at some point we move forward with the master plan, those swings can be removed in an hour. And so there have not been any permanent things installed. They're only amenities that make that area better and better. And we had a meeting today where we're starting to work on the master plan and getting off the ground with some discussions about how to finance a long-range plan. And we have 2 long-range plans because CEC did one for the park board a number of years ago. And Chris made a drawing of a design. And of course, it was simply a design, nothing set in stone. It can always be monitored or modified. And so, I'm sorry that some people are upset simply because there's 3 more things for people to do to enjoy the river. And a shelter that was absolutely going to be no use to anyone at all is now in place. And so the people that go down there and eat lunch now have nice picnic tables to sit on, and they've got somewhere to get out of the shade in case it's sunny, or if it starts to rain, they have shelter to keep themselves dry. So that's it for me. Any other comments this evening?
If I could, Mayor, very quickly, in regards to Spencer's Landing, I've been asking about that property several times in the last few months. As you said, I presented a plan that was actually adopted by council unanimously as a concept design for that. So I believe I even emailed you this week kind of asking for an update on Spencer's Landing and if we can get a master plan figured out and sorted out. So, if I can be a part of that, I would love to help out. It's very clear that that's something that I'm very passionate about. So if that's something that we decide to move forward with, I would love to be allowed to be a part of that.
Chris, I'll be honest with you, okay? When you sent me that email, my answer to you was, at this time, we've got so many other projects going on that I didn't feel like I could dedicate the time to it. Since you and I had that conversation, something has developed. There has been an interest from a major source for funding. And so now it's gotten to the point where we have to start if we want to take advantage of this. And so I'm going to find room in my schedule. We're going to try to accommodate the questions that have been asked and what have you. Jack Mathers, who's sitting back there with us this evening, Jack is going to be a part of that process. And so, it's one of those things where, this is not short term. This is going to be a long-term process. But I'm sure Jack would appreciate the help. And so we will do our best to keep you in the loop as far as that part of it goes. But there's some things that have to be done before we can actually be optimistic, if that's the right word. Okay. And so, the other thing that we've been working on for a long, long time has been the kayak launch. I sent the email to all of you, the estimate from Burgess and Nyepel to re-look at that design and see what we could do to make it work in some fashion. So at the next council meeting, we will have that on the agenda, and you all will decide if you want to spend the money to continue to work on the kayak launch. And if you don't, then we will move on to other projects. All right. So if you didn't get the email in regard to the kayak launch, please reach out to me and I'll resend it to you. All right. Okay.
Yeah, I got something. So first of all, with respect to the comments about some of the situations on Grand Central, I agree. I've noticed the same weeds and growth, and I think that whomever owns that property, even though it's vacant, does need to be contacted about it. and also that we are talking about and, actively working on. Kim and Chris and I have been meeting just to try to get some things going. I think maybe, the vitrolite building, as I call it, they had the awning taken down because it was a safety hazard, and now you've just got the structure appearing there. Maybe some, because there'd been a discussion about what to do with that building, and I wasn't one to jump on and just say tear it down. I think it's got a lot of qualities that need to be investigated before a decision like that's made, and discuss some of these other things on Grand Central. But and then I just echo, and as far as kayak launch, I did read the proposals from Burgess and Knight, and quite frankly, I'd also like to get some input from another firm as to, that's a lot of money they're talking about just to look at this study and do that. I was talking to Craig about actually going and taking it. I'm not convinced that 12th Street is the best location for the kayak launch. I'm not convinced that it's not, but we only had 350,000. When you look at the cost of that proposal that was presented, I mean, just for the paperwork, that was a pretty good chunk of it. So I'm gonna suggest to the mayor that maybe there's someone else we can talk to too and get a second opinion on an approach to that. And that's all I have.
Jim, I agree with you as far as the kayak launch. We had a conversation today with some of the people that are working with the Ravenswood Riverfront Park. The estimate that they got to install the boat ramp was $79,000, and that's to install the boat ramp. The discussion that we had with Burgess and Nyepel about 12th Street was Burgess and Nyepel designed the Belpre boat ramp. I don't know if you've ever seen the Belpre boat ramp. You probably have. But the Belpre boat ramp is really nice, and they designed that. And so I asked them, I said, I would like to know if you took that footprint of what you did for Belpre, will it work here? And so that was part of the discussion about this. And if we put that boat ramp in down there, then the kayak launch would be just simply an add-on. But I'm not sure it'll work. There's some issues with the slope and what have you, but the river's way deeper right there. And so there would not be the issue that we ran into where the dock itself wouldn't float. And so that's one of the issues that if council decides, they would be looking at that to see if we could combine those projects together. Melissa was there. Anything else I missed on that update?
I mean, just looked at a lot of scenarios, but.
Yeah. But it's down to money. We've spent the money we had allocated. If you want to continue on, Jim will do whatever. There's lots of companies out there, so we can do whatever. But anyway, that's the update I have on that. So, all right. Any other comments this evening? All right. With that, meeting adjourned.